In Hayek's work, we not only see how psychological explanations begin to play a larger role in understanding the importance of practices of societal resilience, but also how responses to security risks or threats can be reinterpreted in terms of the internal workings of the brain. Brains are complex integrated networks, but they are also malleable and capable of adaptive change, depending upon the extent to which phylogenetic, inherited patterns and connections, and ontogenetic aspects acquired by the individual during the course of their lifetime interact. Where Marx sharply distinguished the human from the natural world, Hayek's focus on the psychology of the brain focuses on how human responses are shaped through resilience and adaptation in ways which are little different to any other living organism. Quoting from Hayek directly, "The continued existence of those complex structures which we call organisms is made possible by their capacity of responding to certain external influences, by such changes in their structure or activity as are required to maintain or restore the balance necessary for their persistence." Individuals, especially more complex organisms like humans, will respond differently to external stimuli in ways which enable them to discriminate differently between different stimuli and to react differently. Often these differences will not be intentional but arbitrary or accidental. The key point for Hayek is that differential experiences and reactions necessarily result from the innate historical experiential differences of individuals and their different internal rather than external environments. One of the most important parts of the environment from which the central nervous system will receive signals producing linkages will be the milieu intérieur, the internal environment or the rest of the organism in which the central nervous system exists. Hayek inverses the liberal framework of the autonomous and rational subject capable of transforming the external world through asserting that liberal frameworks and institutions are necessary precisely because the liberal subject is not capable of knowing or transforming or controlling the external world. The progressive impulse of liberalism appears exhausted in this defense of liberal modernity, on the basis that democracy and markets work best because this enables us to adapt and to cope with problems without the possibility of knowledge or control. In effect, this reduces human collectivities to the ontological status of biological organisms, merely capable of adaptation through evolutionary chance rather than through conscious decision-making. Of course, it is here, in the defense of liberalism on the basis of the inability of the subject to shape or control an external world, that the discursive practices of societal resilience become a necessity rather than an option. In terms of genealogical framings, it is important to emphasize that what is key to the work of early new institutional economics and developed to its full extent in the ideas of Hayek is a conceptual framework of critique of classic liberal assumptions. This critique was based upon the dethroning or decentering of the human subject as a rational agent capable of securing itself through knowing and shaping its external environment. Many of the aspects of today's discourses of community resilience are present in this construction of the subject in relation to the problematic of adaptation to external events. However, the context in which these concerns were articulated was one very different to our own. The chief concern was that of a defense of liberal frameworks of rule against the backdrop of socio-economic crisis and the challenge of socialist or communist alternatives, which stressed the potential of human agency to shape and control events through abolishing or restricting market relations. It took the defeat of the radical class-based challenge to liberalism before the articulation of societal resilience could be represented as a progressive, even radical framework of social empowerment. The next section considers how the exhaustion of liberalism and the hollowing out of the liberal subject has been articulated anew as a dominant sensibility in our globalized, insecure, and post-political world.